I never thought I'd be the guy writing a story like this, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I've been with my wife, Jessica, for about 8 years now. When we first got married, everything seemed perfect. She was beautiful, smart, a little bitty sometimes, but in that charming way you brush off. We had a good life, or so I thought. We had a daughter, Lily, who's now 6, and I was busy building my career. Jessica stayed home with Lily most days, and I figured that was enough. Little did I know, behind her bitchy attitude and perfect facade, there was something else going on. At first, I started noticing tiny things, little changes in her behavior. She'd be unusually cold or dismissive when I got home from trips, shorter answers, avoiding eye contact. I didn't push much at first. I thought maybe she was just stressed or tired. But then, I started noticing the oddest stuff. Her phone would be glued to her hand, and she'd get defensive whenever I asked about who she was texting. She deleted messages, and I'd catch her lying about who she was talking to. It got worse when I was away on a business trip. I always set my phone to record when I was gone, just as a precaution. I'd heard from friends that their wives or husbands cheated, and I wanted to be careful. So I installed a nanny cam in the living room where Lily's piano lessons happen, because Jessica insisted on giving her lessons at home. It was a hidden camera, just a small device I placed somewhere inconspicuous. I checked the footage once I got back, and what I saw, I still can't believe it. Started with Jessica acting weird during Lily's lessons. She'd talk more than usual and her tone was different, but it was what I saw on the camera that hit me like a punch to the stomach. There was Richard, Lily's piano teacher. He's a nice enough guy in his late 30s, but I never suspected anything until that day. I watched Jessica and Richard sitting close, her hand on his thigh, her leaning in when she thought no one was looking. Then there was the moment I'll never forget. They kissed. Not just a quick peck, but a full-on, deep, hungry kiss. My wife, Jessica, was cheating on me with Lily's piano teacher during her lessons, right in my own house while I was away on a business trip. I couldn't believe it. I watched that footage over and over, trying to make sense of it. The betrayal hit me hard. I felt sick, angry, broken. How could she do this? I mean, I knew Jessica could be bitchy and manipulative, always throwing tantrums or lying about stupid stuff, but this was something else. She lied about everything, even about lying. She told me she loved me, that she was dedicated to our family, but all I saw on that footage was her shamelessly cheating during her daughter's lessons. I felt like the ground was crumbling beneath me. I didn't confront her right away. I needed to process what I saw. I was furious and hurt, but I also felt this strange numbness. How could I have missed all the signs? How could I have trusted her after she lied about the small things, let alone something this huge? I stayed up all night watching that footage, and then I finally decided I couldn't keep this bottled up. I had to talk to her, so I called her the next morning, heart pounding, voice trembling, and told her I knew what she was doing. Jessica didn't even bother to deny it at first. She was so quick to throw out some bullshit about how I was paranoid and accusing her for no reason. She looked me dead in the eyes, that bitchy smirk on her face, and lied through her teeth. Said Richard was just a friend, that they were just talking, that it was all innocent because he's such a good teacher. Yeah, right. I saw what I saw, and I wasn't born yesterday, but she kept insisting I was overreacting, that I was imagining things, that I was being crazy. I told her I had the footage. Her eyes flicked and she tried to brush it off like it was nothing. You're hallucinating, she snapped, crossing her arms. You always jump to conclusions. Maybe you're the one cheating on me. That was her go-to move, turn the tables, say I was the one sneaking around, deflect blame. And honestly, I felt like I was losing my mind. Here I was, sitting in my own house, catching my wife in a lie that was so blatant I couldn't ignore it. The thing is, Jessica has always been a manipulative bitch. She's good at twisting things around, making herself the victim or turning the situation into some kind of joke. She kept denying everything, even when I played the footage right in front of her. She called me crazy, said I was obsessing over nothing, that I was making a mountain out of a molehill. I felt like I was drowning in her lies. My stomach was in knots, my head spinning. I'd never felt this betrayed in my life. It was like she'd been planning this all along, lying right to my face while she was fucking around with Richard. I remember feeling this boiling anger, but also this deep sadness. I loved her, or at least I thought I did. And now I saw her for what she really was, a lying, cheating bitch. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I didn't see the warning signs, how I could have been so blind. All those little clues, her phone obsession, her dismissiveness, her coldness, turned out to be nothing but smoke and mirrors. She was hiding. Her affair right under my nose, right in my own house. I told her I'd had enough. I needed time to think, to process what I'd seen. I told her I didn't want to hear any more lies, that I was done playing her game. She just shrugged and said she didn't care, that she was done pretending to be the perfect wife. That's when the real shock hit me. I realized this wasn't just about a fling. This was about a complete breakdown of trust, and I didn't even know if I could fix it. I felt so many things: anger, disappointment, confusion, and I knew I had to decide what to do next. But right then, all I could think about was how I was going to confront her again, how I was going to make her pay for what she did. After that initial confrontation, I knew I couldn't just sweep this under the rug. Jessica played her usual manipulative games, acting like she was the victim, twisting everything to make herself look innocent. She kept insisting she hadn't done anything serious, just a mistake, and that Richard was just a friend who helped with Lily's piano. Yeah, right, I knew better now. I had the footage. I saw the way she kissed him, the way she touched him like she was craving him. No way was that innocent. But what really pushed me over the edge was how she lied so effortlessly. I was sitting there, staring at her, trying to keep my composure, asking her why she'd do something like this. And she had the nerve to tell me I was overreacting, that I was obsessed, that I was paranoid. She accused me of cheating on her, said I was probably screwing around with some secretary or something. That hurt almost as much as the betrayal itself. I felt like I was losing my mind, questioning everything I'd ever believed about her. The next few days were a blur. I started figuring out what to do. I knew I couldn't stay married to someone who lied to my face, who cheated behind my back. I needed a plan. I started digging into her phone, her emails, anything I could find. I wanted to catch her in another lie, see if she was stupid enough to slip up again. She kept acting like everything was fine, like I was the crazy one, but I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I'd been blindsided, yeah, but I wasn't going down without a fight. One night I set up a little trap. I installed a hidden app on her phone, something to monitor her messages and calls. I knew she was crafty, so I had to be smarter. I kept my cool, pretending everything was normal, but inside I was boiling with rage. I wanted her to slip up, to prove to me she was still lying. And sure enough, one evening I caught her. A message popped up from Richard, something about how they needed to be careful and not to get caught again. That was the confirmation I needed. She was still sneaking around, still lying. That was the moment I realized I couldn't stay silent anymore. I had to confront her again, but this time it would be different. I was done playing her games. I was ready to tear her world apart if I had to. I knew her too well. She was bitchy, she lied, she manipulated. But I also knew I deserved better. I deserved honesty. Respect. Now I just had to figure out what to do with all this evidence I'd collected. I knew I couldn't keep living with the lie, but I also didn't want to just walk away without making her feel the consequences of what she'd done. That's when I started planning my revenge. Something cold and calculated. Something to make her regret every second she thought she could get away with it. The more I thought about it, the clearer my plan became. Jessica was a manipulative, bitchy woman who thought she could get away with anything, especially because she was so good at lying and twisting everything around. But I wasn't going to be her pawn anymore. I decided I needed to hit her where it would hurt most: her ego, her trust, her sense of security. That meant I had to prove to her that I wasn't some naive guy who'd turn the other cheek, that I was capable of revenge. I started working on a way to make her realize the full extent of her betrayal. I knew she'd broken my trust, but I wanted her to feel the sting of being caught in her own web of lies. I also knew I had to be smart about it. I didn't want to just blow everything up without thinking. This had to be calculated. So I set up a plan to give her a taste of her own medicine. I started by collecting more evidence: screenshots of her messages with Richard, recordings of her lies, and even planting a few hidden cameras around the house, just in case she slipped up again. I also decided I'd confront her once more, but with all the cards on the table. I wanted her to see I was serious, that I had proof, and that she couldn't manipulate her way out of this one. The day came when I was ready. I told her I needed to talk serious talk. I sat her down, stared her right in the eyes, and laid everything out. I played her the footage of her kissing Richard, showed her the messages I'd collected, and told her I knew everything. Her face twisted into a rage, that bitchy smirk returning as if she thought she could talk her way out of it. But I was done listening to her lies. I told her she had two choices: stay and face the consequences, or leave and never come back. Her reaction was priceless. She tried to deny everything, even when I played the recordings again. She called me crazy, said I was stalking her, that I was jealous and possessive. But I kept pushing. I told her I was tired of her bullshit, tired of her lies, tired of feeling like I was walking on eggshells around her. I told her I deserved honesty, and if she couldn't give it, then she could pack her bags and get out. She looked at me with pure hatred, then stormed out of the room, screaming that I was possessive and pathetic. But I didn't care anymore. That moment I felt a strange mix of relief and anger. Relief because I finally confronted her with the truth. Anger because I knew she'd never change. She was who she was, a lying, cheating bitch. But I also felt something else: power. For the first time, I felt like I had control again. I was no longer the fool being played for a fool. That's when I realized I had to follow through fully. I couldn't let her manipulate me anymore. I needed to make her see she couldn't get away with this. That's when I decided I'd take it a step further, to make her regret ever betraying me. I wanted her to know she'd lost everything: her marriage, her reputation, her sense of security. And I was the one who'd make sure she paid for it. After that confrontation, I knew I couldn't just walk away and pretend everything was fine. Jessica's pride was hurt, but I wanted her to feel the full weight of what she'd done. I wasn't just going to divorce her quietly or let her slide back into her bitchy, manipulative ways. No, I wanted her to understand she'd crossed a line and that she'd pay a price for it. I kept my plan simple but effective. I started by making sure she knew I had everything: more recordings, evidence of her lies, even some private messages I'd secretly retrieved from her email. I wanted her to feel watched, to know I wasn't going anywhere. My goal was to strip her of her false sense of control, her illusion that she could walk all over me and get away with it. I also made sure my actions looked casual. I didn't want her to suspect I was planning anything big. I just kept collecting, observing, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. One day, I went to great lengths to make her believe I was still clueless. I even pretended to be nice, acting like I was willing to forgive and forget. I bought her flowers, told her I loved her, while secretly I knew I was just setting her up. I wanted her to lower her guard, to think she was still in control. All the while I was preparing my final move. I'd remind her that I knew everything and that she wasn't getting away without consequences. Then I found the perfect opportunity: a weekend where she was supposed to go out with her friends. I knew she'd be gone most of the day, and that was my chance. I left the house under the pretense of running errands, but I had one goal: set up a little surprise. I installed a hidden camera in her purse, just to catch her in the act if she decided to do anything stupid. I also made a copy of all the evidence I had, so I could drop it in her mailbox when she got back. I wanted her to realize that I wasn't messing around anymore. When she returned that evening, her face looked tense. I pretended everything was normal, but inside I was already feeling that dark satisfaction. Then I handed her the envelope. She hesitated, then opened it, and I watched her face drain of color when she saw the screenshots, the recordings, the messages, all the proof that she'd been caught in her own lie. I saw the moment her entire world crumbled. Her bitchy facade cracked and the truth was staring her right in the face. That's when she finally broke down. She started crying, begging, trying to manipulate her way out of it again. But I wasn't buying it. I saw straight through her, just like I'd seen through her lies the whole time. I told her she had no one to blame but herself, that she'd lost my trust, and that she was going to lose everything if she didn't face the reality of what she did. I finally felt that sense of control I'd been craving, knowing I'd made her realize she was not invincible. That was the beginning of the end for her, and honestly, I felt a strange mix of satisfaction and heartbreak. Because deep down, I knew this betrayal was something I'd never forget, something that would haunt me forever. After I handed her that envelope, Jessica's entire demeanor changed. She was trembling, clutching her head, trying desperately to deny everything, but the evidence was undeniable. Her bitchy attitude was gone, replaced by what looked like genuine panic. She kept insisting I was wrong, that it was some kind of mistake, that I had to be mistaken. But I knew better. I'd seen enough, collected enough, and now she was just scrambling to save whatever she could. That night was a long, hellish one. She begged me to forgive her, crying and pleading like some damsel in distress, acting like she was so sorry, that she loved me, that it was just a mistake. But I wasn't buying her bullshit anymore. I told her that if she wanted to stay, she had to do more than apologize. She had to understand the gravity of what she'd done. I said I needed time to think, to decide whether I could forgive her, or if I even wanted to. In the days that followed, I started packing my stuff. I couldn't look at her the same way anymore. Every time I saw her bitchy smirk or heard her lie, I felt that deep, burning disgust. I realized I'd been a fool for thinking I could fix this, that somehow love or loyalty could survive her betrayal. She kept trying to guilt me, to manipulate me with tears and false promises, but I'd had enough. The trust was shattered. The woman I thought I knew was gone, replaced by someone I barely recognized. Eventually, I made the decision to leave. I sat her down again, told her I was done. Done pretending she was innocent. Done pretending I could stay married to someone who'd cheat on me during her daughter's lessons, during my business trips. I told her she could keep the house, keep the money, whatever she wanted, just leave me out of it. She screamed, called me a monster, said I was overreacting, that I was the one who needed therapy. But I didn't care. I knew this was the best choice for me. I didn't want to be with someone who lied and cheated, who manipulated me and then expected me to just accept it. Now, looking back, I realize I learned something about myself. I learned that betrayal cuts deep, but it also reveals what's true. Jessica showed her true colors, and I finally saw that I deserved better. I don't regret catching her, exposing her, or leaving her. It hurts like hell, but I know I'll get through it. I've learned to trust my instincts, to see through lies, and to stand up for myself. If there's one thing I want anyone reading this to take away, it's this: never ignore the red flags. Trust is everything, and if someone's willing to betray you, they're not worth it. Don't be afraid to look deeper, to get evidence if needed. Because in the end, no matter how much it hurts, honesty is better than living in a lie. And if you find yourself in a similar situation, remember, you're stronger than you think, and you deserve someone who values and respects you.